Yes, we're back. Caribbean Cricket Podcast is back.
Mm-hmm.
You thought we were dead and buried, everyone, but our hiatus lasted all of what was it, Satoki? 10 days? 7 days?
I think it was less than that. I think it was like 6 days.
So we're back. We're back from our hiatus. Caribbean Cricket Podcast lives to fight another day, and here we are.
Shout out the cricketer, man.
Yeah, 100%. Let's get through the admin first and foremost.
Yeah.
First things first. Shout out the cricketer. So to quickly explain to people what's gone on. When we went on our hiatus, we were sounded out by quite a few people with regards to things that could maybe help CCP continue. We've worked with the cricketer before. For those who are based abroad, the cricketer is a UK website, publication, magazine, etc. You can find them at www.cricketer.com. And yeah, so we worked with them last year during CPL 2020 CPL, and I think the New Zealand tour, we did some bits and pieces for them as well. And basically they reached out to us and said, well, listen, do you want to just jump back on? Obviously England are going to West Indies at the start of 2022, and it just seemed like a bit of a no-brainer to be able to come back on the air. So look out for some jingles, content that we're going to be doing with the cricketer moving forward. I don't want to promise it, but we may or may not do some stuff with like George DeBell moving forward, particularly for the England tour. So look out for stuff. Look out for stuff like that going forward, particularly in 2020. Yes, and Toki already. Where are we? Sorry, Richard's saying what you got a good. Now we got the cricketer and you got a good Wi-Fi connection. What's going to happen today?
Listen, I'm upgrading. I'm upgrading the Wi-Fi with that deal. But yeah, Michelle, we're here as well. This is a special episode. Obviously, West Indies touring Sri Lanka at the moment. First test starts on Sunday. We're joined by a special guest who regular viewers will be familiar with. But firstly, Michelle, I know it's an emotional time for you when West Indies tour in Asia. You got to set those 4 a.m. alarms, sacrificing your mental health for the cricket. So good luck with that starting Sunday as well, yeah?
Yeah, 4:30 wake up call. What must that be in the Caribbean? So 1:30 midnight or 1 o'clock or maybe 11:30 for whichever part of the Caribbean you're in. We lock back in again. Thank God it's only a 2 test match series. So the 4:30 wake ups won't have to last that long in total. But obviously, let's do the formal intro. Everyone, like I say, people are shouting out Dino in the chat. Dino, my brother. Dino, yes. I hope you lot are following Dino on Twitter, etc. at Crick. Oh, in fact, he's got his name there, so I don't even say anything. Dino's put his @ there, so do go and follow him. But Dino, how you doing?
Oh, I'm good, guys. Always a pleasure to be here. Always when our schedules could collide and this could happen, I will always be willing to come on. And thank you for having me, man. I'm a fan of the show. I always say that, so keep the comments coming and let's keep going, man. So thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure to have you on, Dino, as well, and share your wisdom. And firstly, I guess a lot of viewers might not know, but you were obviously working as an analyst for Canada in 2022 World Cup qualifiers taking place in Antigua. What was that experience like, and what was the level of cricket out there?
Oh man, it was good. You know that USA Canada is the oldest rivalry in cricket, right? That's the first ever cricket game, and I think Canada won that, right? So it didn't happen this time around, but I tell you, the level of cricket on display, like the World Cup was happening at the same time. And watching that USA Canada game was like watching a World Cup game. I'm telling you, the quality of cricket that was there. You could just look at the names, right? There's not really much older guys there. I mean, there are experienced guys, but the quality of cricket was intense. You saw it came down to a ball. You saw the passions run high when things went wrong, you know. So the intensity was there. It means a lot. It's a big rivalry, you know, in world cricket that people maybe a bit sleeping on, because it was a wake up to me to be working with Canada. I had a lot of expectations, and I were wrongly so. You know, Canada proved that there's top level cricket with some fit guys, and they know what they're about. You know, so shout out to them and all the associate teams. I was pleasantly surprised with Argentina. They played some really aggressive cricket. Shout out to them. Bermuda have been consistently trying their best to keep up with USA and Canada. So those 4 teams were competitive teams. I mean, Argentina might be a surprise for you guys. So look out for them. If they get some things going, Argentina could be a force to reckon with. So associate
Dino,
cricket.
you can't just say that without. So obviously, Canada and United States have qualified to go to the the actual qualifiers. The next year, we assume that you'll be part of that journey. But if people wanted to check out some associate players, and let's say you were a prospective T10, T20 analyst who had some say in a franchise and picking someone, who would be? Give me 3 names that you notice we'd like. Or take out someone like Ali Khan, because we know about Ali Khan. Give me 3 names who people might not know. We'd be like, that person's worth taking a punt on somewhere in a franchise.
Just off the top of my head is Ryan Khan Patan, who at the top of the order just demolished every single team that he came against for Canada. He was the opening bat for Canada. And I will just go with 3 Canadians, man. I'm biased, all right? So they got a couple spinners. There's Junaid Siddiqui in the like of a Samuel Badri type spinner at the top. They can bowl some quick flat off leg spins. Got the googlies, got the range. And there's one Samuel Patel, who is like a bit of a mystery spinner. He's a left-arm orthodox, but he can make the ball move both ways. He can do a bit of magic with the ball. So I think those 2 spinners, I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of guys, and I'm sure there's a lot more guys that I should have shout out. But I want to just say that those guys really stood out. Like they could go into, and most of the guys in USA and Canada team could go into franchise cricket. Like they could walk into a CPL type team. That's how good they were. Or those 2 teams in particular.
Well, the CPL lot know that I've always advocated and said that CPL should be expanded. I'm surprised we still haven't had an America's team in CPL. Where you do the joint of the best of the Americas. I'm sure they're going to say it's finances and an expanded tournament, but to me, it's a no-brainer to have an American franchise. Obviously, the US are trying to push their own T20 stuff. Canada's got the global T20, so I'm sure there's conflict of interest there. But if I was CPL, I'd be expanding into the States and or Canada. But we wait to see if that happens.
We're also missing out the big point here. Obviously, Canada's moved on to the next round. Potentially, if they make the World Cup, Dino could be the architect behind West Indies' downfall, next year. we might not get him back on the show next year.
No, man, you can't say that. West Indies. I just want to mention one thing with the associate cricket again. There's one guy who stood out for me, Hamza Tariq, who is a really experienced guy who would have had experience with TKR, and his experience in that really stood out in T20 in the way that he would share info and the way he went about his stuff playing cricket. But in the CPL, they used to have one associate guy that was supposed to be picked in the way that they have one under-19 guy or 2 that has to be picked. And that's what gave him the opportunity. So if they could bring that back in, just have one associate guy in the team, or have the winner of the Canada T20 come to CPL, and have the winner of the America T20 come to CPL. I don't know, just a couple of ideas.
And as Nathan says, obviously the big news that was announced, I think it was yesterday, in fact, there will now be, I can't wait for it. I'm hoping that I can get to it, depending on when it's hosted. But 2024, the T20 World Cup will be in the United States and West Indies. So Cricket West Indies get cussed for a lot, and sometimes rightfully so. But the financial boost of having a short format World Cup in the Caribbean cannot be understated. And obviously the United States as well. So we look forward to that 3 years from now in terms of the financial impact that can have on the game in the Caribbean and the Americas. But before I quickly move on, people, Dark Side Rum Punch, make sure you get your Dark Side. I've been saving my great Dark Side Rum Punch. I've got my ice ready and my Dark Side. Head over to darksiderumpunch.com, order your flavor. I'm going to tuck into this as we are drinking. Last time we did a live, my forehead was bumping the next day at work. I was sipping the Capri Sun. I was sipping the Dark Side Rum Punch like it was juice. So I'm going to go slower today. But we gathered today to obviously to talk about the Test series, and there's been loads of comments from people about who they would pick and this, that, and the other. But people hold fire. people hold fire. We're going to get to the test series, but spoke to Dino beforehand and Santoki, and I said I wanted us to cover just one little short topic before we jump into the test series. And a lot of the noise that has come out of the Caribbean since a lot of the noise has come out of the Caribbean since the debacle of the T20 World Cup has surrounded two main issues. One, Kieron Pollard should be replaced as T20 captain. I'm not advocating for that. I'm just, you know what we're like in Caribbean Cricket Podcast. We say what the news stories are. A lot of journalists have been writing, advocating for Pollard. Some advocating for Pollard to be removed from the team altogether. Some saying just remove him from white ball captaincy, including the ODI side in that. And the other is people furious at the fact that the selectors, Roger Harper and co, have been given a 3-month extension until the end of the year so that the selection review that is going on can be completed, and people are furious about that as well. But Dino and Santoki, you both know where I stand on it, but I'm going to give you two the forum here first. And Dino, as the resident Trini, you get to go first.
On Pollard.
Go on Pollard first, because, and in fact, Coolio says this is a knee-jerk reaction from people. But Dino, come in with your analysis first. Pollard to be what do you make of all that talk in the press, in the media back home, saying get rid of Pollard?
Obviously, I disagree. Pollard would be as captain. But if you say replace Pollard, then who are you going to replace him with? Pooran and Hetmeyer. They're not ready yet for that captaincy role. They're yet to cement themselves as consistent performers on the team. They should be left to focus on doing that. And I think Pollard is the guy to lead the guy forward. Looking at the fixtures, there's a World Cup next year. There's no need for, like you say, knee-jerk reactions. That's not as a Trini. It's just that makes the most sense going forward. Changing the captain now will just usurp everything that the team already is building toward, going towards the next World Cup. Simple.
Short, simple, and sweet. Yeah. And Santoki.
Yeah, I think I agree with what Dino said. It's a knee-jerk reaction. There's a World Cup next year. Obviously, it was a disappointing tournament, but I think it's been a typical Caribbean reaction. First thought is to get rid of everyone. But who are you going to replace them with? Who's coming up that will be able to take us into World Cup? If you look at the white ball squads, especially ODIs, since Pollard took over, we've had direction and purpose in the format. His value as a captain is priceless, added to the fact that he's a world-class batsman in limited overs cricket as well. So for me, I can't even believe it's up for discussion, but it doesn't surprise me that fans have reacted in this way, because it is something which is typical of Caribbean fandom of West Indies to try to get rid of everyone without any logic.
Well, the former president of Cricket West Indies was on Sportsmax 2 nights ago, and he was doing what Dave Cameron does. And but one of the things that Dave Cameron said, Santoki, was he was calling for your guy.
My guy, Listen.
He was saying, bring Shimron Hetmeyer in as captain. And he was cussing out Skerritt and Cole, saying they've taken West Indies cricket backwards. It's time for Hetmeyer. You see what happened when I got removed. Now look what's happening, etc., etc. I could talk for days about Dave Cameron, but what do you just make of him saying just bring in Hetmeyer? So, and the thing is, Cameron was saying it with chest, and in my head I was thinking, Hetmeyer doesn't even captain any team in the region. Who runs the captain of Guyana Amazon Warriors? And Cameron saying just put Hetmeyer straight into captain West Indies. What are you saying about that, Santoki?
I think obviously because Hetmeyer was captain when West Indies won the Under-19 World Cup a few years ago, there's obviously been this idea that he is a future captain in waiting. But for me, his inconsistency means why would you want to burden him with the captaincy of the senior team at this point in time? He needs to establish himself. Because remember, going into the World Cup, most fans were thinking Hetmeyer wouldn't even play. He's not certain in the 11. ODIs as well, he needs to find that consistency as well. So for me, why would you add the burden of captaincy onto him? It would probably be it probably wouldn't help him either. It wouldn't be beneficial to him. So he needs to establish himself. But going forward, I'm assuming Pollard will eventually step down after the 2023 World Cup, which was something he made clear when he took over. Going forward after that, it's a toss-up between Pooran and Hetmeyer. But at this present moment, I wouldn't put Hetmeyer anywhere near the captaincy.
Dino, you had very close ties to the 2016 World Cup winning side. what do you make of Shimron and captaincy material?
Yeah, captaincy on the field. He won the World Cup. He led the guys from the front. So I think he has what he had on the field at that time, right? And it's interesting to me that he didn't captain the Guyana team in the Super 50, even though Leon Johnson is one of the best captains in the region, honestly, right? So maybe that's why he didn't captain in the Super 50, right? But I'm sure he had a big input into it. I think maybe he should be looking to captain Guyana, maybe the Amazon Warriors, and going forward, because both him and Puran have the potential. They have the experience as captains. They have the potential to be both T20 captains. So you could even see Hetmaya as the ODI captain and Puran as the T20 captain going forward as an ideal situation. So is it now? No, you have Pollard now. Just let him do what he can in his period now with these guys and get them ready for that role.
100%. Briefly, again, because obviously the main point of this live was to talk about Sri Lanka. And people, sorry, I never say this. Press the like button. Tell your friends. Anybody you know who'd be interested, tell them to come join me. We ain't even touched Sri Lanka yet, so they're not late. They can jump in at any point in time and bring their comments. But the other thing that's causing rage in the Caribbean is the fact that Roger Harper and the other selectors, Bascom, Phil's one of the selectors as well, obviously. Their contract has been extended. Now, I've grown tired of saying this, but I feel like I need to say it again. The record since Phil came back, and by default the selectors as well, in Test cricket it's 1-5 drawn 2 lost 7. In ODI cricket it's 1-11 lost 6, and in T20 cricket it's 1-14 lost 17, 5-0 results. Now my point is this. I'm not saying that's amazing. I'm not saying it's brilliant. But compared to the years preceding that, I think it represents a smidgen of progress. Irrespective of opposition, it represents some level of progress across formats. But after the World Cup, I read so much saying that Roger Harper needs to go. I feel like Roger Harper's been cussed out ever since he became a selector because... Well, so the selection is the biggest issue in the Caribbean. Whichever island or country is vexed about their player not being in, the selectors are going to get cussed out. Do you think, Santoki, the selectors have done you can pick any format? Because they have. I think there are difficult questions to be answered. For example, John Campbell got a long run in Test cricket. Certain players got a long run in Test cricket who should have been dropped long before they got dropped. The T20 squad, there were some suspect decisions made in the T20 squad. Do you think, Santoki, the selectors should be under a lot of scrutiny?
Well, like you said, they've made improvements overall, but I think bearing in mind the World Cup campaign and how selections played a part, I mean, obviously there were other factors at play, but fundamentally there were selection issues which led to the disappointment in the World Cup. I do think there should be a review. I don't necessarily think the selection committee should be removed, but I think there should be a review and it should be made transparent with the Scout administration, which they've consistently been anyway, just into looking into how things can improve going forward in terms of specifically like the T20s. And as you said, there's been instances in the Test selection where there have been inconsistencies. So I do think there should be a review, but I don't think you can say the selection panel has been a failure for them to suddenly just be removed without that review taking place.
Dino?
Look, what I would like from the selectors is to be more specific with what they say, justify selections a little bit more, give us a little data and a little insight into the guys. Why is O'Shane in the squad? Explain that to us in a way we could understand. We have to come here on this fan show and explain it to the fans for you because the selectors are not explaining it properly. You understand? Just what we want. Do you know that West Indies employs what is known as a selection analyst, right? So whoever is in that role, that's public knowledge. Whoever is in that role, means he's feeding the selectors data. So do we ever hear talks of data or anything like that in selectors or long-term planning and these sorts of pathways for players' development? Do these words come out of the selector's mouth? It's about communication. You need to win over the public as a selector. That for us to trust you as a selector, you trust you're making the best decisions for our young guys and the team going forward. So that's what it is. If you're getting backlash as a selector, it just says they don't trust you, or maybe you're not communicating enough to the public. That's what I'll say on it.
Do you know what though, Dino? That's a really good point, because the last live we did, Ayana Holder came on from Barbados, and big up Ayana, great guest. And she made a point that we've kind of said on here as well, which is that Jason Holder's power play record internationally hasn't actually been that good. Now, that's just Ayana saying that. But when the selectors gave their explanation for why Holder wasn't in the 15, no one mentioned that. But we knew it. We knew, so then you had this weird scenario of me trying to explain to people why Ravi might have been picked ahead of Jason without the selectors having explained why Ravi might have been picked ahead of Jason. So, Dean, for those listening, obviously, those on the live, Dino makes a good point here. It's not necessarily that the selectors are making bad choices, but it's not transparent enough, supported with statistical data and analysis to justify to the fans why it's happening. And I think this is why you then get loads of angry, emotion-led pieces in the media saying, where was this guy? Because no one's giving stats. No one's providing any evidence. And then Santoki, people end up cussing us out even when we provide the stats.
Listen, you know what though? You know what is another thing. Obviously, I know with this whole fitness criteria policy, I know obviously they said it's been explained and the policy's been set out for local media and those investing in West Indies cricket. When Sunil Narine wasn't selected on fitness basis, the whole world's media was scrutinizing it. There was the Grade Cricketer in Australia, like massive podcast. They were looking at why is it Sunil Narine picked, and global media was like, what's going on with the selection policy? Nobody sort of came out and gave a basic overview of like why Sunil Narine had failed the fitness test or hadn't taken part in the fitness test. And so that just made the selection policy look to an outsider as well, muddled and confused. So I think there could be better communication in terms of their selection policy, as Dino alluded to.
100%. And Coolio says, does any other team reveal why they selected who they selected? If not, then I'm perfectly fine with no justification of selected players. Less info to the opponent, the better. Yes, I hear that, but I think I'm more talking about it from an optics point of view. You can't then get upset when you're getting cussed out in the wider media and by the fan base if you haven't really explained what you're doing. The fitness one's a bit different. So like Roger said, for example, that Dean Smith failed a fitness test, but the way the media reacted means that how that has been communicated, even about the fitness test, hasn't been clear enough for people to understand how it. I mean, I know, but that's because I've gone looking and asking questions about it. But not everyone's going to be able to do that. And optics is important. Optics is as important as who you're actually selecting. You've got to be able to control the media narrative, rightly or wrongly. You've got to be able to do it. Obviously, they can't control us, but you've got to be able to somehow get a grip of the media narrative. And if people are cussing you out, that's because you've lost control of the narrative, or you haven't been clear enough in articulating yourself. And that's how you end up with a situation where the president on the eve of the tournament is begging everybody to support the team.
And it also has a trickle effect, because if journalists don't feel informed enough, you get them going to like the Guyanese journalist who went to Pollard and asked about selection. And then that frustrates Pollard and it creates even more drama. It all stems from the fact that journalists don't feel they were informed enough about selection.
Wait a minute. Windies Cricket are actually in the chat. Wait, who told them? who brought Windies Cricket in? But and it actually is them. It's not even a fake account. I reckon that I think it's actually them. So they're saying, hey, gents, good show as always. We don't want to appear contradictory. However, we always aim to focus on why a team has been selected in terms of form, balance, experience, fitness, etc. Listen, Santoki, you're going to have to talk, But on the serious one.
I see you later, guys.
No, but on the serious one, I get what the account and whoever's tweeting from it or writing from it is saying. But I think, how do I phrase this? I think Windies Cricket are lucky in that on this show in particular, we'll look into it. We'll try and break it down and we'll try and see, we'll repeat what Harper said, or repeat what Matt Bascom said, or Jimmy, or whatever it might be, and look for the reasoning and the analysis. My thing is, I'm just not convinced all the media are going to do that. And we're small fry. Okay, yeah, we've got a UK presence, but in the back home in the Caribbean, Dino, unless you think we're bigger than we are, back home in the Caribbean, I don't think we have enough sway to be trumping what's going to be said on a Sportsmax and what Fazier's is going to say on Sportsmax, or whoever else jumps on Sportsmax to cuss out West Indies cricket, and whether it's in the Trini Express or Barbados Nation or Guyana Star. What is it? What's the one in Guyana Star? How do you say it? Staybrook News? I can't remember how you say it.
Starbuck,
yeah,
yes.
exactly. So we're smaller than those people. Dino,
No,
you
no,
want to come? Dino,
no, small. I disagree that you're smaller than that, because West Indies cricket just came here live in your show, and said and interacted with us. And I haven't seen that on Sportsmax. We're on the cutting edge here, boys. So look, this is an interactive show. This is a fan-based show, right? This is completely different from any sort of cricket entertainment that you get in the West Indies or in England, right? This is the true West Indian perspective with different voices, right? So that's why West Indies cricket is here, because everyone's listening and we're probably talking a lot of sense. All right. So there you go.
So for those saying it's fake, Dominic has put his name to it. So anybody who's in the chat going, this must be nonsense. I thought it might be Dominic, but I didn't know if it was. And Dominic has said that he's happy to join one night. Dominic, if you're serious, I'll jump into the private chat with you afterwards, and by all means feel free to come on. But remember, Dominic, what the fans are like, you might get cussed out.
Listen, Machel must have thought that Ron was hitting hard when he saw Windies cricket jumping. What am I saying?
Don't play down the show. You have the batting coach, right? The batting coach is coming on the show. Did you announce that?
Monty,
right?
We've done it already.
So come on, man. You guys, this is incredible content, man. Let's get some sponsors out there. Where's the sponsors? Let's go. Slide in the DMs.
For real though, actually. Yeah. But on a serious one, thank you, Dino, for reminding us. So again, people, let everyone know. So Monty Desai, who's the West Indies team's batting coach, we recorded episode 52 of the podcast. Was it yesterday, Santoki? Was it
Monday?
We recorded the episode on Monday. That should be out on the audios on Friday, might even be tomorrow, and then the visuals will drop on Sunday. And it's a really interesting chat with Monty. Obviously, it's the first time we've spoken to him. Totally transparent, a really in-depth conversation about batting fundamentals in general. Never mind West Indies cricket, but batting fundamentals in general, Test cricket, different formats of cricket. We spoke a bit about Jaden Seals and so on and so forth. So look out for that episode dropping later this week, because as I've always said, it's no use as fans us just cussing without somebody somewhere reaching out to the people behind the scenes, and seeing what goes on behind the scenes. And another plug for an episode that we recorded last year with Chris Brabazon, the coaching education manager, because I think, again, people need to understand that there are programs in place trying to uplift the standard of coaching in the region. And speaking of that, Dino, I'm going to come to you because I saw someone put in the comments. Here we go. Was it that one? Yeah. So one of the coaches who was part of the Cricket West Indies high performance level 3 coaching was Shiv. Shiv is there completing his level 3. He's currently being added now as a batting consultant for the preparation for West Indies under 19 before the World Cup in 2022. I believe he was assistant coach for the Jaguars in Super 50. You were with the Jaguars at Super 50, Dino. So talk to me about Shiv and what you've seen up close in terms of obviously Shiv batting average over 50 odd. We all know what Shiv was like as a test match batsman, one of our greatest, and possibly not even. I still think Shiv never truly got his flowers in West Indies cricket. I really believe that Shiv, because he wasn't as stylish as others, has never fully. He's got more international flowers than he's got back home flowers. But talk to me, Dino, about Shiv and what you've seen of him in kind of like the impact you feel he could have on the coaching perspective.
Yeah, I mean, Shiv is a guy I remember as a young man when Shiv made his debut, and I was mind blown at that age that a young man of his size and stature could make a debut and then make 50s just consistently churn them out. That was really surprising to me, and then I followed his entire career. The Jaguars, when I worked with the Jaguars, that was remotely because of the COVID period in this Super 50. But I do know Shiv personally. I have worked with him before. And look, Shiv should just be the test batting coach. He should be there in Sri Lanka right now, right? But they're just doing the pathways of he's going through the pathways of what a coach does. You know, he goes to the Super 50, then he goes to the under 19, and eventually he's going to go up to the senior team. You know, that's just the pathway. So that's a pathway of coaching that you want to see these guys fast tracked. But at the same time, fast track doing the right things, which is do the domestic stuff, do the under 19 stuff, which is what Rahul Dravid really is. I've seen the entire progression of Dravid's coaching career. I've been lucky to actually sit and talk with him for an entire 4-day match. It was sat with him, West Indies versus India A, and his entire philosophy and even the staff. Everyone was keen to learn from him. So Shiv is in a way doing that human service that Dravid has done. I mean, Dravid took a pay cut to do this job with the under 19s. I think Shiv might need a pay rise to do his job, right? But it's great to see a former legend of the game, undoubted legend, come back and offer his services is what we need. And to do it in a way that he goes through the badges and goes through it in the holistic way that everyone else would. There's a bunch of other guys on that course: Riyad Emrit, Gary Mathurin. I'm sure I'm forgetting some other big hitters in that.
Nikita Miller is part of that as well.
Nikita Miller, so these are guys that the West Indies have earmarked to coach our first-class teams or under-19 teams across the region. And to have more of those guys in positions like Jamaica under 15, let's just say Jamaica under 15 has Nikita Miller, and then more guys come through. What's going to happen to cricket then? So applause to West Indies just because you guys came through. All right.
Yeah, and I think to echo that as well, because that's a really good point you've made about transition, Dino. And I go back to something that Ricky Skerritt said when he got the president's role, and even when he came on our podcast. Ricky has been very strong on saying that the idea behind all of this is to upskill our coaches so that we don't have to rely on foreign hires. Foreign in the nice way in terms of relying on foreign hires, but you can't just. I think sometimes in the region we have this idea that just because you are a great means you're a great coach, and it's like we don't have. I'm not convinced all of us in the region have enough respect for the fact that there is actually a learnt process to coach. It's why I don't know. Pick a famous footballer. Will Cristiano Ronaldo be a great football manager? No, we don't know. That's not because you're a great player you become a great manager. In the same way that just because Lara was Lara, does that mean he can just jump straight into coaching the West Indies? Well, actually, no. Let's have some respect for the process. Let's have some respect for the fact that this is something you learn. It's actually something you learn to do. You don't just jump into the position. But yeah, let's go to the Sri Lanka series then. So the Sri Lanka series, we are Thursday, Friday, so 4 days away from the first day of the first test. The warm-up matches were completely the warm-up match, I should say, was completely washed out. For those who have forgotten who's in the test match squad, just to read out the names: Craig Brathwaite, captain; Jermaine Blackwood, vice captain; Bonner, Chase, Cornwall, De Silva, Gabriel, Holder, Hope, Mayers, Permol, Roach, Seals, Solizano, and who did I just miss? Solizano, and Warrican. So that's the test squad. And the first place I want to go.
We have to go, Mash. We have to go. Solizano. We got a Trini on the show. We've got to be Solizano. It's got to be. Go on, Santoki. Go on, take it. He's averaging an almighty 23, I think, in first class cricket. Out of nowhere, based on the best versus best squad matches, he's made it in. Now, what's interesting is I tweeted this out as well. I saw Solizano back for Trinidad in Barbados about 4 years ago. He was opening with Amir Jangu. and he hit 54 or 50 real quick. He looked like a very classy batsman, very powerful, hit a lot of boundaries and stuff. But it seems like he's generally seen as a cautious batsman. So, and he hasn't really kicked on. His average is 23. So, Dino, you've obviously seen more of him. How would you describe him, and has he justified a place in the West Indies squad for this tour?
Has he justified a place? I'll start there because they're saying we didn't see John Campbell in the trial match, and the other options would have been, was it Powell? Maybe.
Powell and Shane Mosley.
Now, Powell has experience in Sri Lanka. Mosley probably isn't ready yet. This is just my opinion. So they have to go with Solozano. He's not the worst person statistically that has ever opened for West Indies. The guys with worse stats who's opened for West Indies and debuted for West Indies. So I wouldn't go there, right? But
wait.
No.
Is he calling Chad
Let's go forward.
No,
let's go forward.
I can't have him slander Guyanese on the show. Big up Vishal Singh, big up Chandrika. We never forget them.
I didn't say anything, guys. So look, Solozano, I've seen him for most of his career in Trinidad and club cricket for Queen's Park, come through the ranks of Trinidad into the first class team. Small frame, that's one thing that you will notice. He's got a small frame. You wonder if the power was there. So coming through as a small guy physically, there was questions of his ability to hit boundaries. And his range of boundary hitting. He was always seen as a technically sound guy at the top of the order. He's been doing that for a long time. I don't think he's ever bat anywhere else. And he's consistently played cricket every season, right? So he's at the top of the order doing that. And I have seen him develop in the recent seasons before the COVID period into actually getting a bit stronger and opening up his range of shots and power to get through the circle, right? The inner circle. So I've seen him developing. You've seen that. So is there anybody else? That's the question. Who else would you pick then if there's nobody else? I think if you're giving him a shot, it's this Sri Lanka, this Gal wicket is known for runs in the first inning, right? You're going to have to put a big score on this wicket. So is this the time for Solozana? I don't know, but whatever options there are, that's just what I've seen of him. Maybe he deserved the chance, maybe not, but it's a bold decision from West Indies.
But Dino, but his average is 23.
So who would you pick then? I've seen him come through. He's a young guy who can play. Who else would you pick then instead of?
Do you know what? I'm not disagreeing with you. Yeah. I have got a name. I'm not disagreeing with you, but what I'm saying is, I went and spoke to some other Trinis because obviously you were in Antigua doing your the ICC thing, so I was speaking to some other Trinis to try and get some lowdown on Solozano, and they kept saying to me he's actually very, very talented, just highly inconsistent. So my question to you, and I know you want to come in, Santoki, my question to you, Dino, is why is he highly inconsistent though? Why has he not been able to kick on? Why can't he have a first class season? So he can play versus India A and average 60 across 2 unofficial 18 test matches, right? You don't do that unless you've got some talent. But then he can play a 10-match first class season with Trinidad and Tobago in 2018, 2019 and average 27. I think he might have got 100 or maybe 350s or whatever it might be. Why? What is it? What's the thing that is the reason in your mind for his lack of consistency?
The lack of consistency is that's just down to him because he's had a consistent run, right? You have to compare him to what else is available and what's happening in the first class level. You can't just say this guy is not good enough. 28 is what top 10 in the first class. You know what I mean? You can't just say, right? You have to stay the first class in perspective. Who are the other guys ticking all the boxes that are young coming through that you could get a few years out of these guys in the opening position? They're probably saying we've had enough of John Campbell. Look, this is what we are seeing, right? They're saying we have enough of John Campbell and Powell. They're saying that we are coming with this guy. So, okay, Powell is out, Campbell is out. Who is your next pick then if it's not Solozano, right? Is it Mosley? Can you make a case Solozano has more experience than Mosley? So
if you're gonna take a gamble and go for Solozano, why haven't they just gone for a slightly bigger gamble but could pay off more and get Tagenarine Chanderpaul?
That's who I would have gone for.
Well, I don't know if he was even available for selection. He was playing T20 and that sort of thing. I wouldn't comment on that because I really don't know about Tage and if he even wants that or was available, or was he been doing anything in terms of cricket, Didn't he miss a huge part of the season? I'm not sure. I don't want to.
Well, we know from Nikhil, a regular on our show, he was hitting a 197 strike rate in where is it, Atlanta T20s or something
Atlanta
like that?
T20. Listen, go on, Sentoki.
I was going to say, final question, Dino, on Solozano at least. What is he like against spin? Is it something, a specialism of his? Can he play spin well?
Coming up in Trinidad, you have to be able to play spin well to come through club cricket. A lot of the Trini guys get down and drive the ball, so I don't think that he will be able to transition well after 2 hours in the first session. If he survives that, I think he will still be all right. Going forward, especially in the first innings of these games where, the ball will come onto the bat a bit and spin, will be there, but there will be more pace early on in the games.
But thing is, here's my thing. Say Solozano fails, because the reality is that Solozano is going to get both test matches because there is no other opener in that side. I presume Hope might be the backup if they had to, right? But you assume Solozano's getting both test matches. Now, let's say he fails. My thing is he's still got to play when England turn up in March because you surely aren't picking a guy to go to Sri Lanka, fail, and then get dropped again. So whatever happens, he now has to get a run as far as I'm concerned.
No, but the big difference is when England tour in March, the first class season hopefully will be underway. So you could have anyone who...
Yeah, if someone has... Should you be dropping a guy after 2 test matches?
Depends on what he does in those 2 tests. On the basis, if you've got a guy who averages 23 in first class and doesn't perform in the first 2 tests, remember Vishal Singh only got 3 tests, so his time will be ticking. I think a lot will depend. Looking forward to the England tour, if we can get 3-4, if each side can get 3-4 games in, if someone has a hot run of form, they could fast track themselves into the side for that tour. If Solozano doesn't perform, but hopefully he steps up in Sri Lanka.
Okay, then check this, right? Say Solozano fails anyone who's saying, come on, he might do well. I want him to do well. I want him to succeed. Come through, Solozano. It's your time now. But say he does fail and we have the first class season in February and Devon Smith tops the charts again. Does Devon Smith open versus England then?
No, sometimes you got to go with experience, man.
Look, let me come in just with that. Whether it was Solozano or Mosley or Tage, whether if those are the guys on the radar as the next guys that you want to give a chance to, you give them a chance against Sri Lanka. That's who you give someone a chance against, for them to do well. Let them start well. And like you say, if it's England next, then you get your shot against England. Unless you have some horrific 4-inning blunders that make you seem... I can call some names again, but anyway...
What have you got against Chandrika, man?
No. I remember Ambrose. I just remember Ambrose standing on his own stump. Was that on debut? Unless you have some horror show like that, you still look. Sri Lanka and England are 2 completely different challenges. I would love to see any young batsman debut against Sri Lanka and then play against England, so you know if they're good or not. Spin and pace. That's what you get. So whoever was the guy, that's a perfect scenario for him to play back-to-back. We're already making excuses to don't drop him already. So there you go.
Michelle's talking like Solozano's career's done, already. Already thinking of replacements.
Listen, Solozano is my guy. People are telling me to back away from the rum punch, I'm out here just laughing and cracking jokes. But we have a next serious point though, and it's still about the batting order. So the batting order is likely to be Brathwaite, Solozano, and Nkrumah Bonner is definitely going to be number 3. That's not. There's no debate about that, right? Then I've got question mark at number 4, which I'm going to come back to in a second. Number 5 is Jermaine Blackwood, and obviously he's playing his vice captain. Number 6. I have Carl Mayers in my team, right? But there's a question mark about that, but I have him in my team. And then I have Holder at 7. Now, let me pause there just at this point and talk about the question mark I've got at number 4. So we just had the best versus best, the the best versus best games in Antigua. I think it was in Antigua before they flew out to Sri Lanka. And just to remind everyone, Shea Hope batted at number 4 in those games, scored 101 not out, and then he scored, I think it was 71 or 72 not out at number 4. When Shea Hope came on episode 48 or 49, I can't remember the number now of our podcast, he said to myself and Santoki, if he could pick anywhere to bat for West Indies, he'd pick number 4. He's now been given the chance to bat at 4, which surely was on purpose by the selectors. If they wanted him to open in Sri Lanka, he would have opened in these games. But then you have the shadow of Roston Chase. Who do you two have in your side? Is it Chase or is it Hope? Because Hope can't get in if Chase is in the team unless you're going to drop Mayers. Now, the only reason I'm talking about Chase is because it's in Sri Lanka. So they'll probably want another bowling all-rounder in addition to Rakeem and whoever else it is that gets the bowling positions. So how do you just go for Hope and just drop Chase and say whatever? Or do you try and fit them both in, or is Chase just out? I haven't made the decision yet. I'm putting it over to you. And obviously the crowd in the chat, tell us who you'd go for and why.
Might be controversial. I'd go with Chase because he's proven to be a good player of spin in red ball cricket on the subcontinent. And he also has the added dimension of being able to bowl as well as a spinner, which is going to be useful. If you remember, Craig Brathwaite a few years ago picked up like 6 or 7 wickets in the innings in Sri Lanka. So Chase's spin's going to be useful. But also, more importantly, the fact he can play spin. He's proven to play spin well in the subcontinent. I would go with Chase just because he offers those 2 dimensions as opposed to Hope, who can basically just bat.
Dino.
Yeah. I think Chase. It comes down to right in the second inning of each match, which bowler is going to be more effective, Mayers or Chase? Who do you want in the second innings to bowl a team out in Sri Lanka in Gal, right? So that's going to probably be Chase, even though I'm a massive fan of Mayers and he does produce magic with the ball, right? He's a very experienced campaigner, but in test matches in Gal, I just think Chase gets the edge. Just if you just check statistically, and the wickets turn a lot, and that's just in the second inning, he might have more of an impact than Mayers would. If you're giving me that head-to-head matchup, if you're giving me that head-to-head, I would have Chase. Honestly, I would have Chase, Cornwall, and Warwick in the team.
So honestly. Wait, so were you dropping Hope or were you dropping Mayers?
Mayers.
Ooh.
Oh, so you're going to have Hope and Chase in the side?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting. So that's why I'm glad you said that, because that's why I've got a question mark over Mayers. Somebody sent when I did like some kind of like ask me a question thing on Instagram, someone said something about who do you think will be the top run scorer in Sri Lanka, and I said if Kyle gets in the side, based on what he did in Bangladesh in subcontinent tracks, maybe he scores again in Sri Lanka. But I said if, because I'm not convinced Mayers necessarily, and for the same reasons that you said, Dino, for Mayers and Chase, I'm actually looking at both of them as what's your bowling contribution to this side? Who is the stronger bowler? Mayers, to me, is more of a golden arm partnership breaker, but I don't know if that's what's needed in goal. I don't know. I don't have the answers.
So what would you go for if you were to pick a probable?
My point is that Hope's got to play. That's my bigger point. So then for me, it's more about, is it Chase or Mayers? I actually don't think it's about Hope or Chase. I think it's Chase or Mayers. I just don't think if a guy makes 2 not outs, 170 odd, batting at 4, how do you justify not? I don't know how you justify not playing him. Well, remember, everything has been set up for Shea to get back into this side. They never even wanted to drop Shea in the first place. They gave him every possible chance to find form. So I think they're trying to find a way for Hope to get back in. So I don't think Hope is the person necessarily under scrutiny here. Some people keep saying to me, Hope should play instead of Josh. But Phil has ended the chat on that because he said that Hope's knees don't allow him to be a 5-day test match wicketkeeper. So that's not an option.
So you're saying that De Silva has to play as the wicketkeeper? Is that what you're saying?
For me,
yeah. So is that? Oh, I wasn't aware of that. I thought Hope could have been the wicket.
Oh, well, you having him as wicketkeeper?
No, if he can keep, but if De Silva has to be in the team, this is the point I was going to make anyway. Is that the first game? I think West Indies should go batting with the extra batsman if they go that way, and then in the second game, if they have to, they go with the extra spinner if they lose the first game. Or if they do it the other way around, they're gonna have to do it one way or the other. I think this historically, the Gal has a lot of runs in it in the first inning. Whoever makes the most runs in the first inning, whether you bat first or not, but Sri Lanka always win the toss and bat there. Teams win the toss and bat there. Right, because they want to make a big score and bowl the team out twice on a track that's going to deteriorate. Right, that's the whole thing with Gal. That's why they come with spinners. Sri Lanka has opened with spinners, and boy, they have a couple of left armers there that turn the ball pretty big on that track. Right, so I would somehow try to have 3 spinners in the team with Holder and another pacer. Right, that's the way I'm looking at it.
Right,
and then that's the way I look at it.
Pause there, Dino, because that was the next point I was going to come to.
Yeah.
So this is the team I've got so far. Brathwaite, Solozano, Bonner, Hope, Blackwood, Mayers or Chase. I'm not saying in that batting order, but Mayers or Chase. Holder, De Silva. Now, if you do that, that's your top 8, and it's batting heavy on purpose because we're so brittle, right? Then you've only got three spots left in the team. Now, the next question is this. Seals, Roach, Gabriel. I think only one of them plays out of the 3. I'm not convinced 2 are playing in that first test out of Seals, Roach, and Gabriel because you only have 3 bowling positions left. And for me, 2 of them have to go to spinners because it's in Sri Lanka, which would mean Cornwall and, I'll get to that in a minute, but Cornwall and someone. I think you can only pick one of Seals, Gabriel, or Roach in the first test. I'm not saying it's right to do that, but if you're going batting heavy, that's the only thing you can do, which would make Holder and one of those 3 your pace options, which is also why I think Mayers might play, because Mayers would be the next seam all-rounder. So this isn't as easy as people are making it out to be. So let's deal with this first. Seals, Roach, or Gabriel?
Roach. So it's going to be Holder and Roach, right?
That's who you would go for.
Yeah. And you have Jermaine Blackwood as a backup medium pacer who can move the ball.
Santoki, Seals, Roach, or Gabriel?
I would say 100. If it's between only one of those playing, 100% Roach.
So this is interesting because I've written down Seals.
Look, Seals is going to the Sri Lanka Premier League. He's going to get his chance to play in Sri Lanka.
True. Good
there you go. Now, Roach has played in this game. The last game that played in Gaul 10 years ago, Roach was on that team. Roach got 5 wickets in that match. He's the only guy that was on that team 10 years ago. And these guys, Roach, Cornwall, Warwick, for sure, these 3 guys have had A-team and test experience in Sri Lanka. These guys know the conditions. They've been successful there before with A-team toss.
So you've got Cornwall, Roach, Warwick.
Yeah, and I would even have Chase in that team if possible. With Holder. I will go with the bowling, Holder, Roach, Cornwall, Warwick, and even Chase if possible. And your backup bowler as Blackwood.
So I'm going to come back to that. Okay. So Santoki, that means that Dino's saying there's no place for Permo.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I'd say in the pecking order, Permo would be probably third option. Cornwall and Warwick can get in ahead of him. Warwick's always been the option in Asia, as we saw in the Bangladesh tour. So I would say, as much as I love the Guyanese in me would love to see Permo, he's 3rd in that pecking order of spinners.
So, people who are listening, this is really, really interesting. And obviously, anyone who's watching this as a recorded show, because you couldn't join us live, you can always put your comments below after you've watched it in YouTube, and we'll come back to that. But Windy's Cricket / Dominic did add in a point which I meant to raise. And he says, additional factor for Test now is, of course, the World Test Championship. And by the way, people, we are on 1-1, lost 1. But remember, the World Test Championship is actually done by percentage points now, not how many points you get. So we're technically 3rd in the table out of 4 teams who have played on 50% percentage points. So winning or drawing a match is critical to pick up points, especially with only 2 tests. And that's actually right. On a short test match series, and this is where I think we go back to Dino's point about batting heavy. In a short 2-match test match series, drawing the first test, let me rephrase that. Not losing the first test is actually really important. Okay, so if we lost 1-0, it's not the end of the world. Basically, when you go batting heavy, it's because you're trying not to lose.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily because you're trying to win the match. You're basically trying to make sure you do not lose the test match. And like you, Dino, I think that's what we're going to do in that first test match. And remember, with Cornwall in the side, we're basically batting to 9. If Rakeem actually turns up properly, we're batting to 9. So going with what? Hold on. Richard says Warwican. Dino, you're drinking too much. So I knew it. I thought people would say no to Warwican. Nathan says Warwican's not playing. It's going to be Roach and Seals, which would mean that you only have court. That means, right, so if you lot are doing that, that means Chase has to play. Because you can't go into a test match with just Rakeem Cornwall as your only spinner. So people have to look at how you're doing these jigsaw pieces here. I don't think we're playing with 2 fast bowlers. I think you have to start the team with who are your 2 spinners and then go from there. Anything on that, Dino?
West Indies traditionally do not like to play 3 spinners. I'm asking for 3 spinners, right? West Indies tend to go with 3 pacers, right? That's what they have historically done. I'm saying, and I've always said, horses for courses. You come here and you have guys. First off, you have 2 off spinners. So you need Warwican because he turns the ball the other way. That's just for basic common sense that you need Warwican. So Warwican starts. I'm not a betting man, but yeah, Warwican starts. And then it comes down to Chase or Cornwall or both. And is Craig Braffett going to bowl? That's what it will come down to. And will you prefer, and it will come down to the discussion we had, Kyle Myers versus Chase was one of them. Then West Indies will lean towards Kyle Myers, whereas I'm leaning towards Chase just based on conditions.
So just to run through it, people, this is what I've written down, a combination of what Santoki and Dino were saying. Brathwaite, Solizano, Bonner, Hope, Blackwood, Chase or Mayers. We'll leave that up to you lot to vote and decide. Holder, De Silva, Cornwall, Roach, Warwican, which means the bench is Permol, Gabriel, Seals, and whoever you don't pick out of Chase and Mayers. Santoki, any final points in that one?
No, I think this is a good opportunity for West Indies to get a result. Sri Lanka haven't been too convincing this year in tests. Remember, they've got 3 players who are still serving a ban, like Dick Vella, who has been important for them in tests. So I think this is an opportunity. As Dino mentioned, they do have some crucial left-arm spinners, but I think this is a better opportunity than usual to get a result in Sri Lanka for this West Indian side, who, even though there's been a lot of cuss-outs, generally it's been a successful year in tests for the side.
Yeah, worth reminding people in tests, we won 2-0 in Bangladesh, drew 0-0 with Sri Lanka at home, lost 2-0 at home to South Africa, and then drew 1-1 with Pakistan. Do you know what? Generally speaking, people, that's probably our most successful year in test cricket in a long time. To only lose 3 test matches out of, how many did we play? 2, 4, 6, 8 test matches, and to only lose 3 of them. That's unheard of. Yeah. It's unheard of for West Indies. So yeah, there was something I was going to quickly add at the end that people had just said, that you said, sorry, Santoki.
Can I come in on one thing? The World Test Championship, that one went under the radar. Listen, I'm not a fan of competitions where you don't play the same amount of games, you don't play home and away, and some teams don't even play each other at all. I'm not a fan of that competition. It's meaningless to me personally because it's not fair, it's not even, it's not balanced. Right? That's just me on the Test Championship. Right? This is going to be the second cycle of the Test Championship. And this is Sri Lanka's first game in it. Like you said, we played Pakistan, we lost 1, we won 1. And that's where we sit. There's only 4 teams that have played so far in the Test Championship in this edition. And now this is Sri Lanka's first game. So they're going to come trying to win.
No, and I think you're right. I think and Santoki said quite a bit about this as well, so I'll let Santoki come in. But the format is stupid. They've tried to improve it this year by making it about your percentage wins rather than how many points you get for a win, which made zero sense because we weren't all playing the same amount of test matches. The format is ridiculous. But one thing I've always said about test cricket, and it shows how backwards the ICC is, if you want to make test cricket more interesting, introduce promotion and relegation. If you want to make games competitive, split the test teams into 2 divisions and then have a 3rd division for USA and Canada and all them teams and Scotland as well to get promoted into a higher level. It doesn't make any sense. You just have a small club of 12 test teams. Some of us play 2 test matches. Some of us ain't even playing some other sides. Only England, Australia and India get to play 5 test matches. It's stupid. It's stupid. Yeah. Pure stupidity. So if you want to make test cricket relevant, I would rather, I've said this so many times, I would rather, if you had a central ICC pot, I would rather it be funded and we just play Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Ireland, learn to beat those teams and then get promoted into a next level after we've learned to beat teams that are around us.
To dominate those teams.
It's not a popular opinion, but to me, I don't see how you improve by getting beat. Like, we go to India, we lose. We go to Australia, we lose. We go to New Zealand, we lose. And I don't see how that system is helping test cricket improve when we just know that it's certain defeat in those places and you don't win any test matches and so on and so forth. So if it was me, I'd have promotion relegation tomorrow in test cricket all the way through. And if it meant that we got relegated and had to suddenly play Papua New Guinea in test cricket, so be it. So be it. Santoki, any points on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think a lot of people are waking up to that idea of kind of West Indies standing in current cricket, because a lot of people were saying, obviously in the World Cup next year, we have to play in the first round this time. And a lot of people saying it'll be good for the side to get practice against sides like Papua New Guinea before we enter the main draw, or before we qualify to the main draw. So I think that's just a realistic reflection of where West Indian cricket is at the moment. And if we're honest, we can't really disagree with that. We need to basically get confidence at the level we are before we go and try and beat the bigger teams.
100. Luckily, my sister just jumped in the chat and said, "Are you guys going to talk on Rafiq and Yorkshire?" Do you know what, sis? If you jumped in at the start and said that, I might have jumped into it. But I think we might save that for a next live, because that's not a topic that you can just start talking about and jump out within 10 seconds. So we promised to come and talk on because to be honest, I don't even want to get Dino started, because we could talk about race in the Caribbean, but then Dino might not jump out, you know. So if we really wanted to go there, we could.
Yeah, we'll book Dino a flight out of the Caribbean before we record any show or that.
So what? Yeah, the last thing I was going to say, which some people might not have picked up on, it was announced today that Mickey Arthur actually has left Sri Lanka, is leaving Sri Lanka after this test series, and has accepted a position as head coach for Derbyshire Cricket Club. So this is actually his last series with Sri Lanka. I don't know if I'm saying that because I think he's going to just zone out and let us win the test matches, or if that means that Sri Lanka are going to go out on a high. But I thought I should just let people know that this is his last engagement with the Sri Lankan team. Vitamin, I'll come back to you on that in terms of Patreon. It's still going, but we're just going to add in some different perks to it, which we're discussing. So that hasn't gone away. If anyone's wondering so do you now have loads of money because of the cricket? No, it's not. It's not that kind of deal. It really isn't that kind of deal. The deal with the cricketer basically just makes sure we can stay on the air in a nutshell. So we aren't cancelling Patreon, because the long-term aim of the Patreon and stuff was to make sure that if people submitted things for us, that we could actually say, well, here's a little piece of change. Thank you for that article, rather than expecting people to give us like free submissions and things like that. But we'll update patrons on that. But thank you for that question. Any last comment, people? I'll go round. Any last comments? Santoki first, then Dino, and then I'll wrap this up.
No, just looking forward to the test series against Sri Lanka. As usual, it's been a memorable rum shot diaries. Highlight being Cricket West Indies jumping in to cuss out Mash. But yeah, no, looking forward to coming back on with you guys as well after the first test to dissect what went down, and it'll be interesting to see what selection policies they did go with in the end.
Dino.
Wow, what an eventful episode! How long have we been on here? Like 5 hours, man. This is like we haven't even scratched the surface on a lot of these conversations. Look, it's good to have Test cricket back. We're looking forward to it. A couple things, new changes to look forward to. So,
Boy, go let the dog out, man.
I think it's time for me to feed the dogs. Yeah, man. So yeah, man. Looking forward to Test cricket again. It's just 2 games, but let's see what West Indies can do, man. I'm gonna watch this back because I just like to see the comments when that comes out to see what the fans have been saying, and I do appreciate all the fans on this. Yeah, I have 4 dogs actually.
So yes, Big C, Dino, big up Windies Cricket. Even Windies Cricket is saying yes, good to get Dino on. And the thing is, though, on a real one, though, people, on a real one, though, people, we're trying to, grow the CCP team. We got Dino out of Trinidad and Tobago. We got Ayana out of Barbados. Nikhil, long time from the beginning, out of Barbados. I've recently been given. Anyways, I shouldn't even really say it. But Marley Richards, if you're listening, I'm coming to get in touch with you. So big up Antigua. We're trying to get an Antigua guy on. So if anybody's got any suggestions, because ideally a proper Caribbean cricket podcast should have people from across the region. Yes, it's great that we got Trinidad representing Jamaica, Guyana, Barbados, but we got to reach out. We want St. Lucia, we want St. Kitts, we want Antigua, we want Dominica, Grenada, etc. So if anybody's got any kind of people they're like, you should talk to such and such. We always want to hear the diverse voices from across the region. So hit us up, people. But thank you as ever for coming on. Share with your people. Smash the like. Smash the subscribe. Antiguan here. Big up, Mr. Lover. I knew there were some Antigans in here. Big up, Mr. Lover. But smash the subscribe, comment below, and let anybody know who doesn't know about Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Final thing. I knew I'd forgotten something. Windies Cricket may not be in here anymore. We actually don't know where the game is being shown. So I'm going to reach out to Windies Cricket. I presume that in the Caribbean that Flow will carry it, because Flow usually carries everything. Flow Sports will carry everything in the Caribbean. But if you're in the UK, I don't know how we're watching this test match series. We obviously are all going to be looking for some dodgy internet stream to try and watch this test series, unless Sri Lanka and Cricket West Indies have organised some kind of broadcast deal with someone. I don't know who it is yet for UK viewers. So I'll reach out to Windies Cricket and find out who the media outlet may or may not be for this test match. Otherwise, private message us and they'll send you some dodgy internet link to try and watch the test series. But thank you, everyone. Peace. We'll be back soon, maybe later this week. Look out for episode 52 with West Indies batting coach Monty Desai. Follow our socials for the announcement on that, and we'll see you soon. Peace.